Hey everyone, this is Vangie Williams, first congressional candidate from Virginia. I'm here tonight on Couch Conversations with two very cool people. I love educators. My first guest is Miss Yolanda Roussell, and my other guest is Miss Nicolette Davis. Ladies, welcome to Couch Conversations.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, this is an interesting time for us. And so Couch Conversations came about because normally I got a chance to go to people's homes and talk to them about their careers, what we can do federally, and what's happening just in general with them and how life can improve. So now Couch Conversations, so that's one thing we're going to talk about is technology and how it helps. So Yolanda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am originally from New Orleans, and Katrina brought us here in 2005. We found out not too long after we got to Virginia that we would not be going back to New Orleans for some time, and we didn't know what that meant. So I made the decision along with my husband that, listen, we're going to be here and we may as well get ourselves situated here, get our son in school, and just operate as if this is where we're going to live because we don't know how long we're going to be here. Right. And so we got him in school, and it was my intent not to get involved in the school system because we had so much that we had to take care of in New Orleans. And, you know, the more things were evolving, and I had teachers and the principal at the school that my son was working in dragging me in. And so I finally decided that I would go on and jump into the fray. And as it stands right now, just to bring you up to date, I work with I went from elementary school to a middle school. I work with 7th and 8th grade special needs kids.
Wow. Wow. And Nicolette, how about yourself?
I'm from New Orleans too. This is my mommy. So I guess to pick up from where she left off, because it'd be most of the same story. I'm a federal contractor. I started off on the law enforcement side, and now I'm with IT and studying for cybersecurity, and I work at the National Academy with the FBI in Quantico.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm the professional nerd,
and I love her for that.
We do our thing. So Yolanda,
mm-hmm.
I know pre-COVID we had talked about how we've known each other since 2018, since the first campaign. Mm-hmm. We talked about special needs children and making sure children have an opportunity and that hand up. How was everything going since COVID-19 hit?
It's not been good. We had a conversation just yesterday with a couple of our kids, and you know, we asked them point blank, how do you feel about distance learning? And the interesting thing is well, first of all, they don't like it.
Right.
But it's not because they're not learning anything. It's because that very important aspect of growing up has been stripped from them. Right. You know, our kids are coming from elementary school where everything was arm in arm, you know, with another child,
or life was everything.
Yeah, the social life was what they had. And it's not until they actually get into high school and somewhere around the end of the 9th grade into the 10th grade that they start thinking more, you know, unilaterally, you know, what are my specific needs as opposed to, you know, my need is my friends. So right. That's where they are right now. They need their friends. The learning for them comes secondary to the socialization and learning themselves, because I guess when we were adolescents, we kind of learned who we are, or what we were going to be by our friends.
Right.
Piece has been taken from them. Some of the teachers, I've spoken with some of the teachers who will insist that the kids black themselves out during class and only chat with the teacher when they're asked to chat. They can't chat among themselves. And trust me, I understand that, because we don't have 90 minutes. We only have 45 minutes for each class for the entire week. Now they will have homework assignments during the week, and we're checking what they're doing and giving them feedback on what they're doing. But the only time that they will even see us is for that 45-minute stretch, unless they come to office hours. So needless to say, we've lost a lot of kids because they're just not showing up at all. And for those who show up, much of it is because of the parental, push, which is appreciated.
And I know
It's really tough on them.
I've spoken to a couple of parents who said that at no time did they ever think they would be homeschooling in their lifetimes. And with the child, like we had two with learning disabilities, and I can tell you, I homeschooled for 1 year, and it was like, I praise teachers. You need raises, big time raises.
Maybe that's what COVID is doing for teachers now. Assuring that parents will pay you what you deserve to be paid.
Well, I've been fighting to get teachers raises, but actually discussing with my team, I was like, there are some categories of people who should be more than on a minimum wage. For example, I think there should be a minimum pay for teachers across the country.
Mm-hmm.
The base pay, and that pay better not be
wage.
It better not be minimum wage. It needs to be reflective of the expertise that teachers bring to the table. I have 6 kids, and homeschooling 4 at one time was difficult enough. Adding in one with ADHD and one with Asperger's was like overwhelmingly complicated. And I remember when I got them back in school, the teacher said how do you respect my job? I was like, I respected it before. I wanted to be a teacher. And it was funny that I chose outside the profession because it was the pay. Pay was just not enough for myself and my husband to ever accomplish any of my dreams. And I'm not going to say his dreams too, but and my dreams. Yeah. His dreams are my dreams, and my dreams are my dreams too, kind of a thing. But I'm really concerned because now what I've also heard is there are 3 components that is missing. First, high-speed internet. You don't have high-speed internet, it's all for nothing. And being at Stafford County, Fairfax, Prince William, in fact, almost every county except Arlington, Alexandria, and that's pretty much it. All have huge rural communities that depend on high-speed internet, and we don't have it. So it was like I thought about this, and I said I want a comprehensive infrastructure package that includes high-speed internet. But we also need a very comprehensive educational bill that gives a minimum wage to teachers, to educators. And educators is the same thing I've said before. Can be the bus driver, can be the food service person, the counselors. All need a minimum wage that is reflective of their educational level and the need. You're the guys are the rock star. You're teaching the future.
Essential personnel.
Exactly. And you don't know who you have inspired to go beyond the limits. I say all the time, teaching is a vocation. It's as professional as teachers are. It's they operate on the pay of vocation.
Yeah. And
It's, yeah. And I say, you know, we don't ask a whole lot. We
yeah.
just want to know that we had an opportunity to inspire at least one in that class. And I got to tell you, I've been in the school system for 15 years. And you know, I have kids now who are no longer kids. They're professionals. They are starting, they're buying homes, they're buying families, and you know, some have come.
Families and not buying.
What did I say? Did I say they're buying family? No, we were
We're not
talking
buying
about something earlier, right? Of course, not buying families, but yeah, they're buying homes, and they're buying homes because they're starting families.
Yes.
And I've had a few. I think you know that I also for a few years I ran a STEM program called Nova Nesby Jr. And you know, to have those kids look me up to let me know what they're doing now, you know, it's that's all a part of the teaching, you know, parameter. And it's just amazing. And that's what we look for. We need to be paid more, but what keeps you coming is knowing that you're going to change a life. You don't know whose life it is.
It's so
You
important.
don't know who's paying attention.
I think Nicolette can agree with me. I was inspired in high school as a nerd jockette. My as a nerd jockette. My biology teacher was my soccer coach. My math teacher was my volleyball coach. In fact, both of my math teachers were my volleyball coaches.
Mhm.
My track and field coach was actually my history coach, my history teacher. So I mean, these people shaped who I was, and
Yeah.
it was odd because the one person who wasn't an educator of mine was a man named Colonel Thompson, and he would see me in the hall and he would tell me, "Yeah, sport is good, but if you don't have the dedication to take it to the next level, you're not going to go anywhere. So where are you going after you graduate?"
Mhm.
And I remember even today, you know, their names.
Mhm.
And, you know, I look back, I mean, you know how many years ago that was?
Yeah.
To remember their names, that inspiration. Or the one time I let my grade slip. I let my grade slip for like 2 weeks.
Mm.
And I got punished.
Mhm.
One coach gave me steps to run, like in the school.
How many floors?
It was one floor, but I had to do it 24 times for 24 points that I did not get a
Get
B.
out.
It was a step for every point. And then my,
All that corporal punishment today, right?
yeah,
That's
track.
conditioning.
No. It was conditioning back then. It's corporal punishment today.
Moved 2 days later. The other coach was funny because his punishment was just as bad. The bleachers at my high school, Parkdale High School in Riverdale, Maryland, were no joke. And he was like, "Okay, so let me think. Your grade slipped in 3 classes. Okay, so you're going to run the stands for 3 laps." And he's like, "And because you didn't make it as captain, everybody else is going to join you."
Oh, wow.
The equivalent of "I hate you." My friends were like, "Don't fail any more classes. We all get punished." But it taught me it was a cause and effect. And it taught me don't ever give up.
Yeah.
It also taught me, hey, have a plan because you might get tortured like this if you do something wrong.
It
And
gets worse in college.
But you know, the interesting thing is, and I know that we're talking about COVID, but I have to touch on this when you talk about the peer pressure. You know, it is so important right now today when you talk peer pressure, it's always negative.
Yes.
It's always negative. You're following the crowd, okay? But when we were growing up, because if one did wrong, everybody got punished. It encouraged everyone else to make sure the one who could get everyone in trouble stayed on the straight and narrow.
Accountability.
It was
Yeah.
accountability. And it's not practiced today. What's practiced today is, well, I can't punish everybody for one person. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. I remember one time we had a guy in class. I had to been in like 7th or 8th grade. And this was not the time we had went away from blackboards, pretty much. We were going away from the chalkboards. And one of the guys in class called the teacher a name. And the teacher looked at his, everybody in the class kind of giggled. And he said, "Oh, we think that's funny. So guess what we're going to be doing for the next couple of hours, for the next couple of about a week. And you'll have homework every night." And we're like, wait a minute. Why would we have homework? We never had homework before.
Mm.
Class, we had to sit there and write a joke that insults another person is not funny.
Yeah.
And we had to write that continuously. So you couldn't write like 5. No, he gave you the paper and the lines were that thin and said you had to write that small. And we looked at a normal piece of paper. I remember one of my classmates said, a normal sheet of notebook paper has like 51 lines on it. This has like 104.
That's an exaggeration, but
It was like, you want to start counting more? I'm going to add more pages. So all of us in that class, we didn't go to any other classes. All of our work was handed to us in packets at the end of the day, where we had to go home and do that homework at home. And some of it was not easy. I'm telling you, after that,
you learned a lesson.
I was like cause and effect. Every time I did something wrong, I knew what happened afterwards, but that one kid's joke should have been a lesson to me. Because after running those steps, I'm telling you, I didn't know what my legs felt like for like 3 days. The track team, when we were used to running, it was a whole new avenue. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think technology is going to go after COVID-19?
Oh, it's definitely going to open up the school system. And there are a lot of things because Fairfax County had a very difficult time getting it together.
Right.
So I know that some of what's going to happen is we're going to be doing a lot more in the school system to educate the teachers. You know, I mean, there's only so much that we were doing, and we were certainly making sure that the kids didn't use their cell phones. At least we tried, okay? Because, you know, the cell phones were not being used. I remember asking one of my classes, and I said, everybody has to give me an answer. What do you do with your cell phone that ties into any of your classes? And I insisted that everybody give me an answer.
Right.
I said, if your answer is it doesn't tie in at all, that's an answer. So by providing words for them, every last one of them, those were their words. I said, so help me then understand why you need to have that cell phone in the classroom. If we're not using it, if we're not giving you a reason to pull your cell phone out, why are you pulling it out? Their reasons is because they were connecting with their friends. So I say this, now that this has happened, we're going to find ourselves being more strategic in our planning, you know, like you. More strategic in our planning on how we're going to utilize these systems, because we don't know how long this is going to be.
Well, and
The only thing that we can't change is allowing the kids they can't touch one another because everybody's in their own space, in their own homes.
I think one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing how we handle differently, especially now that COVID-19 has awakened the beast, that I'm calling it, the security aspects for children. I've always told my daughters, 3 things you don't do. You don't, I do them because I'm running for Congress, which is really funny. You don't put your name on your shirt, okay?
Mhm.
Don't put your name on your bicycles. Your cell phone, you don't give your location. I am amazed how easy it is for me to actually, I have so many youngsters connecting with me through Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and they're willing to tell me things that I've had to actually DM them and say, do you have a parent near you?
Yeah. They're not being taught.
They're not being taught. They're giving me their locations. And with technology today, I think COVID-19 has exposed a whole new world,
Yes.
what we have to do post COVID-19.
Mhm.
Making sure that we have secure tablets for every child in a school.
That's all right.
I understand we have the cell phones, but I'm gonna tell you, yesterday when Layla graduated, my daughter graduated,
Mhm.
one of the parents said, my daughter applied to, what did he say? She applied to 8 schools. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. She got accepted to 6. And I was like, oh, that's even cool. He said, do you know she did all of her essays on her cell phone? He had no idea.
That's serious.
And he said it bothered him because she didn't discuss this and say, let me review your essay, but worse, he felt compelled not to ask him to use his work computer because he's a federal contractor with a clearance as well.
Mhm.
The argument I would have had with my daughter if I did not have all this dang technology around me.
Mhm.
And I said, wow. He said, why couldn't the school have, we pay taxes. We understand that.
Mhm.
He said, King George has one of the lowest tax bases in Virginia.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay a little bit more money, so that every child has that piece of technology. Every child has a classroom size that isn't 24.
24, try 32.
That's ridiculous. We have so many people who in the teaching profession who want to be teachers but can't afford to be teachers.
Mhm.
My daughter just told me, she's like, I decided I want to go ahead and become an educator, an art teacher for middle school. I'm sorry, for high school. And she's like, so do you have a problem with me living with you for a little while longer? And I'm thinking, yeah, no problem. I have all 6 of y'all at home. Why not? And I was like, you're just going to have to pay a little bit more rent, And she said to me, she was like, I looked up the price of how much an art teacher coming into high school made.
It's like
And
40,000.
like, I can't even live in King George on that salary.
Mhm.
Now, to be a certified teacher, you have to have a master's. Is that for the state?
No,
or
you
that's
don't have to have. You don't have to have a master's to be a certified teacher. You can come right out of college. You have to be a certified teacher to teach. You don't have to have a master's.
Right.
You can get your certification. I mean, your master's anytime after your certification.
Because if you racked up student loans, which most people do, because everybody don't have a rich daddy.
Mhm.
So you have these student loans that you have to keep up with.
Mhm.
You have to live. So the average salary is $40,000 in Northern Virginia.
Mhm.
King George is less.
King George is less. Stanford is less.
But you have to start out with at least a bachelor's to be certified teacher,
Oh yeah.
to get all the benefits of
Yeah.
a state certified teacher.
Yes.
So a couple of years ago,
Confession, I never graduated college. I make more than that.
bingo. And that is where I'm finding the disparagement. So Okay, so there was a study done and it said Black women are the highest educated women in the country right now,
And the lowest paid.
and the lowest pay. And then I flip and I look and I said, well, non-minority women are paid, or have no degrees, and they are paid more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, so an educator, the one person in your child's life whose sole job is to inspire them to be the greatest and know the most ever. I had teachers who couldn't give me enough information. One of my degrees that, I got to go back and finish again because of a lying person. He knows who he is.
Oh, okay.
And claimed he was a teacher. And because he lied on his credentials, the 2 classes that he taught
Made yours.
Wow, not involved, not null and void. Wow.
I would sue him.
that didn't just happen to me once. That happened to me on 3 separate degrees.
Wow. Wow.
This is my construction management degree. The one course you need is construction management and safety management. That teacher, that person had never graduated college. I had to reconfer that. So I originally graduated in 98. And once that happened and they found out, they unconferred. And it wasn't until 2010 when I got my bachelor's degree in federal contracts and acquisitions that covered those 2 courses did they give me back my associate's degree.
Wow.
So when it happened with my astronomy degree, if anyone knows anything about astronomy, one question is easily 5-6 pages of a math problem. I ain't got that time. I had 1 child when I finished that degree. I have lots of children, career in national security and running for Congress. I don't need my astronomy degree. I've already worked for NASA. I've already done my dream job. I moved on to a different dream job.
Mm-hmm.
It happened again. And
Oh, wow.
the school offered, so this is really funny. I was supposed to have been in class starting April 28th to finish the last 2 courses to reconfer that degree.
Mm-hmm.
I always say my journey, I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I had to do it in a way that it made sense to me. And Broken Life Journals, I was a historian and a genealogist. Well, I had to take away the history degree. Am I still a historian? Yes. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad for students who rack up these student loans. They'll give you back that part of the money, but you still got that student loan.
That's right.
And so this is one of the things I was thinking about. I want to get y'all feedback on. I had talked to a couple of people and I said, my idea is this. If you work for a federal or state program, I think that your student loans should be decreased by $5,000 to $10,000 per year, depending on the occupation. Second, if you're an educator, there's a couple of programs out there that will give you money back on or pay off your student loans at
Merit.
Yeah, in disadvantaged areas. Now I applied because I wanted to go ahead and get into teaching, and I was disappointed when they said, well, the pay is this, so you have to quit your job making this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. I'm pretty much going into a school in a disadvantaged area making no money. You want me to quit my job making money
For at least 2 years.
for at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, are you going to pay my mortgage? Are you going to pay my car note? Are you going to pay my student loans now or then? And if you do this, what guarantee do I have that you're going to continue this program so other people can do it? And why would you do it in such a way that I want to pay back to my communities, but don't punish me for it?
Right. Right. And you have to wonder about people who feel that, it's okay to have such a low threshold for pay to a profession called teaching
Mhm.
when we have presidents who had to go to school and were taught by teachers who were paid less than they should have been paid? We have doctors, we have Congress people, we have,
Scientist.
it just doesn't make
Astronauts.
sense. And even then, even back then, you at least teachers had not just the satisfaction of knowing that they touched a life or two that year, okay, more, of course, more, but you also had the respect of the parents of those teachers.
Yeah,
I
school
mean,
is
students. And today,
educate.
parents are not at all, now they are, I believe. But up until this COVID-19, they had absolutely no respect for the teacher. Their children could come home and tell them anything to cover themselves. Okay. And the next thing you know, the teacher's being called to the principal's office and being accused of something that the 12 or 13-year-old has said to the parent, and the parent wants your head on a platter.
Exactly. Exactly. I've had friends of mine who I've had to say to them, I think you need to look at this in another light. The light you should look into is, hey, what did your child do to,
Don't ask those questions.
you know?
No longer ask those questions. I don't know if it's because, you know, parents, yeah, the generation of parents you got, if you have two parents in the home, you still don't have a parent at home when the children come home. And sometimes you don't have a parent at home when the kids are leaving for school.
So you don't know your child.
You don't
to
know.
if your child is lying or not. Do you know how much I had to prove to her that my teacher didn't like me? Just say, well, I got this grade because my teacher didn't like me. I tried a couple times, it didn't work. But when I actually had a teacher that did not like me,
Right.
gave her the proper proof that it's not me, that's that lady.
Right. Right.
And it was proven. It was proven. Okay, now that's when the bear and this mother came out. Okay, because I wanted to believe that all teachers were like the teachers were when I grew up. They
Right.
cared about you. They didn't pick at you. They didn't use you as a scapegoat. They didn't do those things.
Right.
To smile, for a teacher to smile at me made my day. I knew then that she really liked me. And I would tell, Nikki, and I told her, I said, there were several teachers that I did not like when I was going to school. They
Right.
would never know it. They would never know it. And my parents had, I wouldn't even say it to my parents. Because you weren't there for that. You respected the teachers, and the parents respected the teachers, because what parents knew, that for some reason I think it misses our parents today. Parents knew that that teacher is spending more time with their children on a weekly basis than they spend with their children in a month.
And I think this is one of the things that, COVID-19 has made me aware of is I have really cool kids, that although my older three didn't do sports or activities, my next three, whoo, they have
Kept you busy.
oh my God, they've done everything. But I realized that um, their disabilities were part of the problem with all the teachers. Like, your girls are so quiet, they're great, but I can have a conversation with them, and it's a really mature intellectual conversation about topics I didn't even know they knew about,
Mm-hmm.
because they were listening to the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
More so is, I thought about when I was growing up, I had teachers who I absolutely loved. And those were the teachers who took interest in those little things that I was doing. And it would be more than just, hey, you got to do it this way. I remember when I've always been a well-structured person. No, I haven't. I thought I was. It wasn't until I was about, I think it was about 24, 25, right before I got married. And I ran into one of my teachers and he said, you know, your learning disability, nobody would ever know. And I'm thinking, what learning disability? And he said, you have, at the time it was, I know it's now, it's ADHD now, but it was,
no, not, I don't think it was dyslexia.
it's ADHD now, but it was whatever they called it back then. But the reason why I am structured the way I am was because rather than ever, they put me on Ritalin one day. That was it. Nope. Didn't like the way I felt for 24 hours. And I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. And it took one teacher. She said, I want you to write down everything you have to do every day. And your day can't end until you do everything on that list.
Your to-do list.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God. I started writing things down. And if I forgot something before I went to sleep, that's a blessing and a curse because Yolanda, you know, I stay up late at night because of this reason. If on my to-do list, I don't get something done before I go to sleep, it has to be done, whatever it is, because I am the world's greatest finder of new things to do. So, oh yeah.
You can leave now.
I am awesome at finding new things to do.
How y'all get along?
You know?
Yeah.
So running for office taught me something back in 18. You got to let it go and let someone else do it. You got to know that what you're doing is what you want to do and not what somebody else wants you to do. Not what you truly want to do.
Right.
Also, is what you're doing as important as you think it is? And that actually last October when I decided that although I wanted the doctorate program and I was only 6 months out from graduating, decide whether my health was more important than Congress or the doctorate degree. And I chose Congress because I felt that doctorate degree was not going to help enough people.
Yeah. That's how we're wired.
I'm hurting behind the student loans, but in all actuality, I don't think me getting a doctorate degree would have done any good for the people who I was trying to help. And I made that decision. I cried like a baby that night because I was like, it felt like a piece of me died.
But you know, we're wired, unfortunately, to a degree, to put ourselves on the back burner.
Yes.
For the good of the people that we feel we can help.
Right.
And that's what teachers are about.
Yep.
That's the nature of the teacher. I've talked to some of my colleagues who, you know, are almost in tears because they can't be in the classroom. What I shared with the kids yesterday that, you know, we were talking to and trying to get an idea of how they feel about the distance learning. And again, you know, they were talking about not being with their friends. They didn't say anything about not being with us, but that's what we miss as well. We miss being with them. You know, we miss, because there's this thing, you can't touch the students. You can't touch the students. And I watched some of the other teachers walk around with their hands behind their backs to make sure that they don't touch a child. I'm guilty. I feel like if a child is doing very well, it's not enough for me just to say to them, good job.
Right.
I feel compelled to put my hand on their shoulder or pat them on the back or, fist bump them or high five them to let them know that you have a personal connection with me. You're doing good. Keep it going. And those kids will come back from other classes, has nothing to do with English. Okay. They'll come back to show me, what they did in science or what they did in their history class. Because I try to help them understand that your core classes, your English and your math classes will allow you to do extremely well in all of your classes. Your English class will teach you how to read. Your math class will exercise your muscle, that muscle in your head, and teach you how to solve problems, So, but I just, and it's so funny because I'm called Mean Miss Y at school. Yeah. And I wear that as a badge of honor because Mean Miss Y, and I'll tell the kids up front, there are going to be sometimes you are not going to like me, and it's cool. The reason you're not going to like me is because you're going to want to mess around in the classroom, and I will not have it.
Right.
I will not have it. Now, the disadvantage with COVID-19 is there's very little control over the behavior and the actions of the students. If they black themselves out, we can't force them to open up that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well,
for them, that's
exactly. But I think one thing that I have to say that I think COVID-19 has done, other than teaching parents that teachers do a lot more than just give out work, is the fact that as teachers, kids, that if Mean Miss Y didn't care, then Mean Miss Y wouldn't be on here trying to help you. Because my daughters today, they did the fire truck with all the middle school teachers rode through, and my daughter was like, oh my God, such and such mean teacher. And then I was like, were you going to wave? She was like, yeah. And I'm like, you just call mean. You're not. But I realized some of my best teachers were my meanest teachers. Because I knew that they.
My favorite teacher, the name of my favorite teacher?
Miss Pierce.
Miss Pierce. Miss Pierce was my English teacher. She was my mentor. From ninth grade through my senior year, Miss Pierce found a way to be there for me. And there were times when she got on my last nerve. But everything that she did it for my betterment. And she was the one teacher who, when she was doing something that she knew I was not going to like, she was very firm. She almost came across as being mean. And then after the results of what she had done to me came to be a benefit to me, then she would do just what you just did. Give me this big smile and say to me, I know what I'm doing.
My favorite.
And she did.
I like those teachers.
One of the Flavor Flav clocks on her chest before Flavor Flav came out. And I thought it was kind of weird, but we were studying Julius Caesar. And we had to all recite like a portion. I got my part down, and I took a test, and she still gave me like a C. And me being a craver of all attention, good grades, was like, what did I do? What did I say wrong? She was like, you didn't care. Because if you cared, you would have done a little bit better on this. I'm like, yeah.
You didn't say we were supposed to care. We're supposed to just
Exactly. But I I then learned something that year. It was that year that Miss Long introduced me to a group and had me take a test. And she was like, so how long did you spend in the book? Be honest. Be honest. And I was like, 10 minutes. And she said, so you spent 10 minutes and gave me a perfect paper, yet the rest of your class is struggling. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to turn it. And
She knew
It
your
was a-
capabilities.
yep. And it was odd is that continued in everybody else's class but hers. So everything I did for her, I went overboard
And about and beyond, yeah.
and beyond. In college, with all my degrees, my husband laughed because he was like, I don't know why you buy the books. I just don't understand. I was like, because I need to use them for reference. He was like, okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have all my college books, every single one. And when I do have a question that I want a little bit more clarity on, I go back and refer to those books. And I
Yeah.
have notes from my professors. And every once in a while, I'll reach out to one of my professors and go, remember when you said this about me? I graduated, but I got a question. And now I just get that, well, if you had read the chapter I told you to read, this would not be a question. So I'm going to give you a new chapter to read. And I'm like, I don't have no time to read no chapter now. Just give me the answer. He said, that's what I don't want you to do.
Yeah.
The goal of a teacher, of an educator, is to teach you how to find the answer,
How to think.
how to think.
How to think. You know, being an English teacher of special needs children, you know, you find yourself trying to figure out ways to help them learn basic things like how to use the dictionary, how to spell a word by sounding it out, using syllables to help you spell the word. Phonics, right? Using phonics, which is not being taught like talking about anymore unless you're in special needs classes. And so one of the things I would do with the kids when they would ask me, you know, Miss White, how do you spell chocolate?
Mhm.
Okay, I would have them break it up.
Didn't grow up in my house.
And what you said,
I
Nikki?
said they didn't grow up in my house. I couldn't ask you how to spell nothing.
She's a great speller because I made her sound it out. I made sure she understood what C and H did when it came together. Okay. And by sounding it out, listening to those vowels and those consonants and piecing it together. And okay, so now spell chocolate. And they would spell the word, they spell chocolate. I said, okay, great. Now do what you have to do. And then I'll come back and I'll ask them a little like before the end of the class, how do you spell chocolate? And they'd spell it. I said, who taught you that? You did, Miss White. No, I did not. You taught yourself that.
There you go.
Just got to do your steps.
Well, this was what's crazy. You said something earlier that is really true, and it's something that has kind of bothered me professionally and as a parent and as a business person. Three things. School. Someone actually, my daughters, they can never use the argument. What is math good for? What is science good for?
I had those questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I have the answers. As a construction management person, okay, I build construction sites all around the world. And I use English to write my reports. I use science to figure out compounds and what goes and what does not go in concrete because it doesn't always mix. I
Mhm.
use math for every god known thing.
Everything.
Now let's think
Even the
about.
advanced maths.
Mhm.
I use everything I learned, including Spanish, including sign language. You know, I I mean, I actually decided to restart teaching myself sign language again. It was like we um, deserve better. You know, I mean, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. I forgot I knew that. You know, and
Mhm.
I was like, we're missing out with our kids. And I was thrilled to realize that when I was coaching youth bowling, the kids would give me, oh, Miss Williams, I don't want to do the math. And this was back in 2017 during the first campaign. And I said, hold on. You got to do your homework before you can bowl. Well, math is stupid. I'm never going to use it. Really? Let me tell you something.
Victory.
You got to add up things. But when I am physically bowling, I am using geometry. I am the projection of my ball and what angle is going to hit at a certain point.
The trajectory of it.
I have actually sat down and I have coached, and I'm going to say this, I coached my professional bowling husband to say, hey, look, when we were on the PBA tour, this is what you have to do. Okay, it's called a burn pattern. It means there's no oil on the lane, which means you put your ball down and it's going to go shoom. Okay. So I said, you're going to have to start off at probably the 22nd, 23rd board, and you're going to have to put it on the second board on the lanes. And he was like, honey, that ball's going to go right in the gutter. All the bowlers who were around me heard what I said, and everybody was standing all the way near the ball return and doing what I told him to do. And the coach said, let me guess, you're a math teacher. I was like, no, I'm a future congresswoman. You just have to be smart. But the children understood that as well. Including the science part was to make a bowling ball is more than just, it's a cylinder. Each ball has a different type weight on it.
And it's weighted in sections.
And to show them this, it made them say, oh, wow. And I'm like, this is what we need in school. You know why sports were so important to me? Everything I did was about what I learned. You know,
it made you put it into action and made you see it in real life.
Exactly. I mean, for soccer, I knew I could close my eyes and run that field with a ball. And the whole goal was I knew that if I closed my eyes and to get from the 50-yard line to the goal post, I had to figure out with full stride how many steps it was in case you're going to laugh at this. Sweat dripped in my eyes.
That's deep.
I'm going to say it. My clumsy behind earlier that year was a game bell. Sweat dripped in my eyes, and I ran into the goalpost.
Ooh.
Was doing, and it was me who hit the goalpost. I broke my nose.
These sweatbands are so important now.
It was so bad. It was funny to a point until everybody was laughing until I got up and blood everywhere. And after that, I was like, nope, that will never happen again. So I knew if I can get the sweat out my eyes long enough to figure out where I was, what yard line, how many strides I could take, that's what I did. I mean, but it's scary. Today's education is not taken seriously. If the parents don't take it seriously, the kids aren't going to take it seriously. And I look at the disparagement between white, Asian, Latino, African, Black kids, and I'm disappointed that is not more done. So let me ask you this, and this is the big finale question. What would you like to see done from the federal level, whether it's the earmarked fund or tiger marked funds that go towards teachers' pay and materials or infrastructure? What would you want to see at the federal level done so that we protect teachers and the students they teach, so that we can make our country better educated and more respected in that field?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the funding and making sure that teachers are paid much better, because right now we've got kids who are coming right out of high school. I have one of my Nova Nesby students who just graduated from high school, and he received a $30,000 a year scholarship from it's a tech company. I can't remember the name of it. They're going to pay for his college, $30,000 a year for him to come to them. Now, here's the catch. This kid's going to be a straight A student. That's all he knows.
Wow.
And the likelihood is that he's going to end up working there at about the age of 19, maybe 20, not have finished college, but can continue finishing his college degree, his bachelor's degree, while working full time and getting up. He's not going to think about coming teaching at anybody's school, teaching students.
Right.
So if we don't increase the pay for teachers, we're going to be at a loss. We're not going to have teachers in the classroom.
Right. Right.
You know, and you're certainly not going to have, and I hate to say it, you're not going to have the best teachers in the classroom, because those who can teach are not going to go there if they can make more money
Right.
else, doing something else.
Right.
You know, we have a brilliant engineer at our school, and she's a single parent. And she says to me all the time, she said, if I didn't love teaching so much. But you know, at some point, the love for what you're doing will be superseded by the need for more financial income. Take care of your family and yourself. So that's one thing. The other is, and I'm speaking strictly from the point of view of the special need classes. It seems that they are perfectly fine with cramming, and I said cramming, special needs kids in small classrooms.
Right.
Now, when you're working with kids who suffer with ADD, ADHD, you name it, okay? The maximum in Fairfax County is 15 students in the class. Sometimes you'll get that 16th student because there's just no other choice. So some lucky teacher will get one more student in the classroom, and they're all on top of one another. When you're dealing with special needs kids, you're dealing with individual thumbprints. You can't put out information to the majority and then expect them to just go to work. You've got to be able to spend, that's why there's always 2 people in the classroom, okay? You've got to,
With the IEP program, I know when we were trying with our daughters that the funding was just not adequate enough to handle it. And I later found out that the money for special education included talented and gifted money, and a lot of that money was earmarked for the talented and gifted students who often didn't need it for field trip.
right.
You know, this is one of the things I spoke to VEA and NEA, and I said I wanted to make sure that those should be 2 separate funds.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. You know, because again, when you're dealing with talented and gifted, you just give them the work and they will figure it out.
yes.
You know, they don't the only thing that a teacher does is basically coach and talented and gifted.
Right.
And
Right.
special ed, you're actually teaching, and you have to be extremely creative with how you are teaching each child in that classroom.
Right.
I mean, literally each child, because when you give information, you can give general information to the class and ask, does anybody have any questions? And they'll say no, or they'll say nothing.
Right.
Okay, I'm asking if, because I want to answer any questions that need to be asked so that you guys can focus on the work. And the moment they start working, you're going to have someone who's sitting there.
Yep.
So what's going on? I don't understand. You just asked if anybody has any questions, but sometimes it's like they are expecting that individual contact with the teacher. And then there are other times when they don't know what questions to ask. So then you really have to spend a little more time with them and taking them back to the very beginning to help them, come along with it. I came into the system with the blocks, and I don't personally like them, but I can't do anything about that. The reason I don't like, and I think that if the school system would go back to having the students hit every last one of their classes every day, especially since the mandate is that, don't give them homework over the weekend. Don't give them homework during a long holiday weekend or spring break, or, you know what I'm saying? No homework. So if they're not, I tell the kids all the time, your teacher is here to provide information and to help you understand as much of it as you can within the time frame that we have you here. You need to go home and you need to spend time with it. It's called homework because that's where you're going to learn it. The distraction of your friends and everything else that goes on in the school environment is not present. So you can go home now and you can learn this material. Well, parents don't like homework coming home. They don't like it because if this child is in soccer, that's more important. If they're in dance, that's more important. If they're on the Little League football team, that's more important, okay? If they've got piano lessons.
It used to be when I was in sports, we had to maintain a 2.0. Well, our coaches said that's what the school board said. You had to maintain a 3.0 minimum, be on the team, and a 3.25 minimum to participate.
Yeah.
And that was a driver, because I learned, again, you slip that 24 points that I messed up on, put me in jeopardy of not participating. And I was like, okay. I went back to the teacher. I was like, what can I do? What can I do? Because I can't keep doing steps. It's too hard. Tell me what to do.
Learning is a lot easier than doing steps.
Oh my goodness.
It helps you departmentalize and prioritize.
And, I was trying to, my daughter, Lavana, I have to be really proud of her because of her ADHD. She knew something was wrong. And once we tested her, they wanted to medicate, and they medicate her and she would get tired. She would get angry. She couldn't focus. So she was always hungry or not hungry. It was like one thing or another. Really proud of her. Her senior year, she figured out what I was saying to her. You have to figure out how you learn best and to be a teacher so that they can help you learn the way you learn.
Yeah.
And I got mad at one of the educators. He has since left teaching because he learned that he was not a really good teacher, because he wanted to treat everybody the exact same way. And like,
Can't do it, especially not in special education.
3 kids out of his class passed. I was like 22 kids. Yeah, it was 22 kids and only 3 got okay grades. And so when I talked to him, and he said, well, your child just isn't focused. And I was like, let me refocus you. If more than half your class did not get a C or better, that meant
Here's the problem.
Here's
the problem. Right, right.
I do want to focus And I've said this, running for Congress isn't just running for Congress. It's doing what we need to do on Capitol Hill. And I want to go to Capitol Hill with a new agenda that's, my checklist, because anybody who knows me knows that I will work my behind off to
Mhm.
get to a certain point. And I want to work hard. So I want to go to Capitol Hill with an education bill or paying teachers more money. I want
Well,
to with an infrastructure plan to build new schools where schools are, over 100 years old, um, and bigger schools if we need. Go to
well,
San.
and I'll say this again because I know the school that I work in. We have a couple of labs that are filled with computers, and that's all well and fine. But my problem with it is that the lab is only used during SOL. So for the rest of the school year, where our larger special needs classes could occupy a classroom like that because of the space and be able to spread the kids out such because the other thing, ADD and ADHD is something that just about all of the students in special ed deal with.
Right.
So their level of focus and concentration on what they're doing is here. And so if you've got to work with a student over here because they need that additional help, but you are in earshot of another student, all of a sudden they're no longer focusing on their work. They're, or if a student is over here and a student is on the other side of the classroom, but the room is still small and they sneeze, that's a distraction for the entire class because then there's this rolling God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. That's not something that you can change. I don't care how big the classroom is.
Right.
But just the idea that it would be difficult for a teacher to even sit next to a student and be able to consult that student or work with that student without being a distraction his or herself to the other classes. I think it's kind of unfair to continuously, find the smallest classes that you have for special ed. And one more thing, you talked about the uh, supplies. I don't know what it is or why it is that our kids can come to school with $100 shoes and Fitbit watches and, all of these high-end things when there's a dollar store that you can go into to make sure that they have at least pencils. But, we spend a lot of our own money on school supplies for kids that, I'm thinking, turn that Fitbit in and use that money to buy school supplies.
Right.
So unfortunately, that's not happening. And we are not reimbursed for anything that we spend for school supplies.
I find really unfair. I was talking to one of my educators from high school, and I asked her, I said, well, how much did you spend on supplies when you taught? She said, Xerox copies. Went in there and ran the copies off ourselves. And I was like, I remember those.
Remember those?
I remember those. And then she mentioned the fact that she would go to parents only when it was necessary. Like if we were building log cabins and they needed popsicle sticks, they would ask the parents to all buy
They would
popsicle.
give them the supplies that they needed for those activities.
But now she was like, he doesn't know. And we were talking, this was only about 2 years ago. When did it become so that a parent had to go out and buy 10 packs of notebook paper, 200 pencils, and what have you? And I got to the point where I was like, well, heck, I know how much it costs. And I know how much it costs to do it when you have 6 kids in school. How is it that a parent who can't afford food or rent,
One or two children.
or 2 children, how are they doing it? And unfortunately, there was somebody who made a really not so nice comment about parents being neglectful because they aren't acting responsibly. And I had to remind that person who is an elected official that that's not always the case. Sometimes I never got why I had to turn in, 10 glue sticks or what have you. How about this? How about the school system create school supply boxes with the mandatory school supplies? Oh, wait, South Carolina does this, in fact. South Carolina charges every parent, if you have one child, I think it was $75. If you have 2, it's $50 per child. If you have 3, it went down to $40 per child, but it was called an administrative fee. And with that administrative fee,
Public school.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
they gave you and it's a commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
They provided you the basic journal book for every student.
Position book.
The composition. Yeah.
And the tasking book, the journal where they had the calendar and all that in it.
Yeah.
And it was enough money for the teachers to buy mandatory supplies like paper towels,
Mm-hmm.
Kleenex.
Tissues. Yeah.
We had that on our school supply.
It was on,
list.
it was on their school supply list. And it's on our students' school supply list as well. But only a few students will come in with it.
Oh, always. And then I found out, I was like, well, okay. Okay, I used to coupon, real quick. Used to coupon. And I went into a big chain store. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
And I had coupons for 110 packs of big pens, where it was going to cost me literally $0.
Yeah.
Negative. I was getting back 10 cents for every pack I was buying. So, which gave me the affordability to buy a fish tank.
Wow. I won't tell a soul.
It was a beta tank. So I ended up buying a $30 beta tank with all my money that I got back.
Mhm.
And I remember I got back up here and I had all these pens and I dropped them all to the school and they were like, well, we can't use these. I'm like, okay, let me make sure I get this straight. You want parents to go out and buy pens, but you can't use the pens that I have.
What was it? I mean, I could understand if their excuses because the students now in 7th and 8th grade use pencils.
Oh yeah, well,
By the time I got to 5th and 6th grade, we had to use ink to write. And if you made mistakes, you just had to start all over again.
exactly. Well, you know what? The teachers, when I was leaving, they were like, can we grab those? I was like, yeah, because I'm not going home with these. Teachers were grabbing 2 and 3 packs because they were the multicolor that had colors. They had the black, the blue, and the red. And then they were laughing. They were like, okay, Miss Williams, were you a couponer? I was like, unfortunately, I bought things that I thought I could use these pens. But after one school year and the pens were still in my house, and they had to go.
Yeah.
My kids
You don't have anybody in high school anymore, right?
yes, I have one more in high school and one in middle. Yeah. I'm just,
She has 6 girls, so
Oh,
I mean,
had a singing group.
yeah.
they all sing, which is really even funnier.
Mhm.
Contract like the Brax.
Sisters going on here.
Yeah, they actually sang at my vow renewal.
Mhm.
Um,
I remember. I was there.
surprised a lot of people, they had no idea, because even my oldest daughter sings, but she doesn't. She's all okay. All of my girls are artists in some way, where they draw and sing. draw or sing. So
Mhm.
there's 1 and 2 and 6 are drawers. They can draw. If you
Mhm.
look at Lajeunesse YouTube page,
Mhm.
she speed draws and she can draw a human being better than most human being looks. She can make a human being look better than they look.
All right. Tell her that I need some work done. Okay.
She can draw animals. She's more into dragons and scary looking creatures. But her Asperger's, I remember she used to sit there and look at the same pictures over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how my Asperger's kids are. They're very focused on what they're doing. I
It's
love my Asperger's kids.
a picture for 2 or 3 weeks and I'll come back and I'll look and the line detail in the picture would
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
incredible. Why can't you show this detail for stuff you need to do? Um, Lavana sings. She's the one who sang the most at the wedding. She's
Mhm.
so soulful. She did a rendition of I Know Where I've Been in Hershey Park and shut down the park for about 4 minutes where everybody was standing around. I was like, ooh, I turned around and looked at the crowd behind me. I was like, ooh. But she's actually putting a demo out.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Ayla sings, plus she's in color guard, plus she acts. She's been acting with the school plays forever. So now she decided to go to Radford.
Okay.
I tried to get her
All
to
right.
other choices, but she wanted to
Yeah.
go. I can't change her mind. At least it's not Elon. No offense, Elon. I need to keep her in the state.
Gotcha.
And Lilia, color guard, and she sings. She walks around here singing all over the place.
Hmm.
Anna, my baby, he's the one who sang the part I walked up the aisle on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That soft little voice, and I'm like listening to her, and I'm like, that's not how soft you sing in a house. No, but I, I think I'm blessed that they all have a chance of doing whatever they want. All of them are good kids. Um, and I have to credit again the teachers, knowing how busy I was over the last 3 years, stepped up, and the teachers were the ones who would call me and go, "Hey, Miss Williams, let me let you know this happened." And I'm always afraid when they call because you think it's going to be bad news. They were like, "Well, no, she did all the work. I just wanted you to know." Because if I had
Yeah.
to go and work, I was going to scream. Um, but I'm looking forward to this upcoming year, getting to do things differently and getting out there and sharing the love with people and making sure they get, you know, they're heard. And
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have another conversation in a couple of months when right before school starts to say, hey, they might give us a little bit more money in Virginia.
Hmm. That
They,
would be nice.
but you gotta get money to the counties. So did y'all have any questions for me?
No, did you?
Hmm?
No. No.
I'm
No.
listening, learning.
I want to thank Yolanda and Nicolette for coming. I thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Yolanda and Nicolette.
You're
Be
very welcome. Thank you
Thank you
for
for having
inviting
us. Yep.
us.
absolutely every Saturday, 5 p.m. Be here. Look
Okay.
to hear from y'all.
Okay.
Thank
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.